Here are 5 important tips to remember before preparing an offer for your next home. The first thing you need to know is how much money you need as a deposit. Whenever you purchase real estate, a deposit is required, and that number is anywhere between 3 to 5% of the purchase price. And this is very important to understand because once your offer gets accepted, you will have up to 24 hours to bring this deposit to the brokerage who's representing the seller. And this is going to be extremely important to understand how much you are willing to put down, because the more money you put down as a deposit can actually show the seller how much more confidence that they have in you, rather than a less deposit where they maybe feel a little bit iffy about you as a buyer not having the funds to be able to close. The second thing is when you actually want to move into that property. So it's extremely important to have the discussion of when you want to move into a property before the offer is put together. And this may actually dictate which properties you do target. For example, whenever a seller sells a property, they have a specific date or a timeline that they're hoping that the buyer closes. They can put 30, 60, or 90 days. 30 days is viewed as quick, 60 days is right in the middle, and 90 days is a longer closing. So you want to make sure that depending on your situation, that you hope the seller and yourself can meet in the middle and figure out a closing date that makes sense for both parties. But chances are, that might be a little bit of push and pull, and one side may have to make the sacrifice. For example, let's say a seller wants you to move in later on. They want a 90-day closing because they wanted to take their time to find a property to buy. But you already sold your property and your property closes in 30 days. That's going to be a big problem for you to be able to close longer, because now you have to figure out a situation on how that's going to be possible. And the sellers may not want to close sooner because they want to find a property. So these are things that you hope aren't an issue in the negotiations, but it does play a big part. It's not just about price. These are the things that can actually make or break a deal before a deal actually gets considered for everything else. The next thing you want to figure out is how long you want to actually stay in that property. So this is very important because if, let's say, you're hoping to stay in a property for 10 plus years, you may be looking for certain things within that home. For example, schooling and location might be very important to you. And let's say you're looking for a property that you're only looking to move in for 2 to 5 years. Maybe those things aren't as important because you're a younger family who, has intentions of wanting to have kids or whatever it is, and you're not there yet. Maybe that'll be something later on you're looking for, but these are important things that you must figure out because it makes your home search a little bit easier, not just for yourself, but for your realtor to be able to target certain pockets and certain areas that do make sense for you. Fourth tip is trying to project repairs. Even if you did a home inspection to a property, there's going to be certain repairs that you may want to try and project. For example, mechanical, roof, window. These are things that do happen later on when you're living in a property that you may not expect prior. So try and project these certain things and try and budget for them beforehand so that you're not caught off guard and not able to afford certain repairs because now you're all of a sudden putting all your money into the mortgage or the furniture, whatever it is. And the last thing you want to do is understand the closing costs that are involved when purchasing a property. When you're a buyer here in Ontario, the biggest expense you're going to have for a closing cost is the land transfer tax. So you can go online and search what that amount is going to be for that specific purchase price. But these are going to be key things that you do keep in mind because this amount can be anywhere between 1.5% to 5% of the purchase price. And these can be large amounts depending on how much you've spent on that property. And there's also things like lawyer fees and mortgage fees that happen, let's say for appraisals or anything like that that come with giving you the mortgage. So you want to make sure that you have these discussions beforehand so you're budgeting accordingly on the closing date and don't have short funds to not be able to close. These can be very important whenever you're buying a property because if you miss any of these tips, that can ruin your whole experience as a buyer. So I hope this helped. If you guys have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave them below.